And you know, you gotta hold your tongue right to be able to sew correctly. Hi, I'm Di with Sister Chicks Quilting, and welcome to my channel. And I want to tell everybody out there, I'm glad you joined me today. What do you think of this? This is block number 3, and this is going to be our video today. I'm going to go over everything that I've learned on how to put this block together. I'm going to share with you the mistakes I've made in putting this block together, and I'm going to give you some crucial measurements that you're going to want to use when you make this block with my scrappy strips. And look at that, I got it out on the first time. It's a tongue twister, I tell you. I think we should get started. Many of you know that I have a long arm quilting business. Today, one of my customers, Teresa Ballard, and she is just the sweetest lady, I really like her, was telling me that she loves my videos because she's all alone and she likes to sew along with my videos. And I just wanted to give you a shout out, Teresa. You know what? I appreciate you so much. Now, she gave me some advice, and this was the advice. Don't stop doing what you're doing. She says, don't retire, don't quit. And I love Teresa's style. So I want you to know out there, I love Teresa's advice because that's what I'm planning on doing. I just want you to know out there that I'm going to keep my quilting business and my channel alive until I die. All right? So you're with me for the long haul. Okay, without being gruesome, let's get into this quilt. I'm going to actually aim the camera down and we'll be working on my table in front of me, and I'll show you some close-ups of everything. Hang on for the ride, and here we go. Hi, so I am here under this giant quilt. It's like a queen size quilt. There's the quilting pattern you can see. This is a charity quilt. I'm going to a humanitarian charity thing and I'm taking 5 quilts. I will show you all of the quilts that I'm taking. One of them I showed a little bit in video last week and it was requested that I show the whole quilt finished. I didn't. Let me grab it. So it's just pink and green. You can see that I just put some fabric together. Some of it is in the same line. Some of it is not in the same line. But that's the quilt that was requested that I show. Let me show you this one. It's kind of wild. I bought this fabric years ago to make aprons. I thought, what cute aprons fabric. And I had some left over and I ended up making this little baby quilt with it. Actually, a friend sewed it together for me. Can you see the yellow and the green in it? Well, guess what I put on the backing? I thought it needs cuddle, and I took these cuddle scraps. I hope you guys approve. When I give charity blankets, I don't like to just throw any color together. I want to make them as nice as I can give them because hey, I figure we're all God's children. Someone's down on their luck and I can help them. So I thought those colors looked good with this quilt. And then I bound it in red. And then I'm doing this one that I showed you. I just have to finish binding it. So that's what I'm doing. And look at this, that little peeky poo corner right there. Can you see that? That's what my video is about. So you're just about to see that. And you know, you gotta hold your tongue right to be able to sew correctly. You guys got that? I just showed you the 3 quilts that I was binding for the charity drive at my church. And I wanted to show you what's happened because I have been a binding fool the past few days. Now, this one was already done. I didn't have to do anything on it, but the engineer and I decided we would be putting this one on our donation list. This was probably the first, well, not probably, it was the first scrappy quilt I made. I was trying to do something really cute And I don't know if I did or I didn't, but we're giving this one up. This is what I put on the back, and it's bound in this fun, bright pink, which I know happens to be Beverly's favorite fabric that she's ever gotten from me, is this pretty pink binding. I have some friends that were given a bunch of fleece. Look at this. This is just, it's horses, and the colors are something else. And the guy that gave it to me said, I thought you could just cut it and tie little knots so it was all fringy. Well, I'm a quilter. I don't care for those kind of blankets, and they are blankets, not quilts. And that's what this one is a blanket. But take a look at the binding that I was able to find to come up with it. Isn't that amazing? It was in my stash, and it looks like it was made for this blanket. I'm super excited. And then the last one. Now, this top was already put together by my wonderful daughter-in-law, Shawnee, and she did all this before she went to nursing school. And I've been sitting on these quilts, but look at the backing on this. Isn't that fun? It's in the front flower. I think this is a really very pretty quilt. The colors are put together well. You know, you put together and you make it the best you can make. And that's what I like to do with my charity quilts. So now that you've seen all 6 of my charity quilts, I'm going to move on and we're going to finish this quilt. I'm going to start by sharing my blocks and showing off how square they are. So I have actually not done any trimming other than making the actual block. So this is block A. And block A starts with scrappy strip in the middle with a ring of background, a ring of scrappy strip, and it finishes with a ring of background. And let's check my size. Now this is 6 inches square on this cutting mat. So if you go 6 and 6 are 12, 13, 14 and a half, boom. That block is pretty darn square. Wow, I think that's pretty good. And I'm going to talk to you about how I got it so square. And it's the same on the top, 14 and a half. Now, this is block B. And block B is just the opposite. You start with a center square. And by the way, this is 2.5 inches. As I make this, you'll see that everything is 2.5 inches in here. This 2.5 inch square is the background fabric with a ring of scrappy strips, then a ring of background, and a final ring of scrappy strips. So I just made these 2 up, by the way, just before I started this video. This is what I do to keep it square. I press every seam as I go. And I press. Then I use really accurate measurements and cutting. Let me show you the ruler I've been using to make these. And that is this 12.5 inch by 2.5 inch ruler. So it's by Creative Grids, and I really like it. It has these stickum grips on it, on the ruler. But I have to tell you, I really like a ruler that grabs my fabric and doesn't let it go. And so I want to share a product with you. I don't make anything on this product, but I love it. It's called True Grips, and it's by the Grace Company. And the reason I'm telling you about these is because the Grace Company sponsors our 3 Quilt Amigas retreat. And a pack of these was in every one of the swag bags last year at the retreat. And I love them. So let me show you quickly how they work. You get this little sheet, this rubberized sheet. And I don't know if you can see or not. I'll flip it in hopes that it shows. But these little rings are on here, and they're like a donut. They have a hole in the middle, but they look like this. They're clear. See that? And you just stick them on the back of your ruler. And here's what happens when you do it. Look at this. And I have 2 pieces of quilting fabric on here, and it just helps me to keep it accurate. So, hey, While I'm talking about the True Grips, I'd love it if you would join Tracy and April and myself at our 3 Quilt Amigas retreat. It's going to be April 28th through May 2nd in Hamilton, Missouri. And there's going to be plenty of time to shop at everybody's favorite store, the Missouri Star Quilt Company. Also, we hang out with you, and it is so much fun getting to know all of you out there in YouTube land. You become real when you come to a retreat, and let me tell you, I enjoy visiting with you, making friends with you. I've made some very dear friends from my retreats. So if you're interested, please go check it out. It's on our website, 3quiltamigas.com. All of the details are there. Maybe you can join us for our quilt retreat in Hamilton, Missouri. So the 2 things you want to do is press as you go and do some really accurate cutting. Next, I'm going to confess I made a bit of a sizing error. I don't know what I was thinking, but 4 of these blocks, I'll get an A and a B. Look at this block. For some reason, I thought I needed to square it up when I made it. Oh my goodness, that ½ inch, that lovely ½ inch is gone on this side and this side. So this really only measures 6, 12, 13, 14. What in the world was I thinking when I decided to square these blocks up to 14 inches? And I did the same with block B. Look at this. This is 14 inches by 14 inches. When I sew it together, the ½ inch taken off the top, this, I don't know, this side might look, this row might look a little thin. I'm hoping it doesn't show. I had something going through my head for sure when I made that mistake. Don't know what it is, but I did. I'm going to have to trim every one of these blocks down to 14 inches before I sew them together. What a doofus, huh? Oh well, things like that happen. So now you know my secret about that. This is my project box, and look at all these scrappy strips that I've made. This one is trimmed. None of these are trimmed. Here, I'll lower them so you can see them better. But I've got some that are like 3 inches wide. Wow, I've got quite a few, or a couple of long ones. Here's another 3-inch wide one. Oh, you guys, the Weber kettle has appeared again. Isn't that adorable? I love having all of the little peekaboos of the novelty prints, little tractors, chickens, sushi. Here's another one that's like going to be 3 inches. So I'll get 1 2.5 inch strip off of all that. But this is what I did this time. I made these 6 inches wide. And the reason I did that is because I felt like I was wasting a lot of fabric. I was originally making my scrappy strips 4 to 5 inches wide from here to here, and I was only getting 1 2.5 inch strip out of them. I didn't like the waste. So what I did was cut my strips a little longer this way, and this is a good 6 inches wide. And I just kept going with my uneven scrappy strips all through here. And by the way, as you can see, this is a real thready project. You're going to be clipping threads forever, but it's okay because eventually once you get it quilted, you don't have to do that anymore. So I can get 2 2.5 inch strips out of each one of these strips. I'm pretty excited about that. I feel like it kind of is like dovetailing, as my mother would call it. It's being smart with what you have to use. And I thought of that all by myself, so I'm going to take credit for being smart, LOL. I have 2 of the big ones, and all of these are about 3, maybe 4 inches, but I'm definitely going to get my 2.5 inches. And oh my gosh, look at this. Can you see the flamingos? Pink flamingos and pink sloths and sushi. What more could a girl want? Maybe a little red teddy bear? Oh. All right, let me get back onto this. So this is my project box for scrappy strips. I keep it up here out of the way, so it's always there with me. And this is the background fabric. Now, I want to tell you about this background fabric. I bought it. It was a closeout. It was marked down 30% off, and I just took the whole bolt because the color, this kind of a sea glass color, spoke to me, and I thought it would be beautiful as a background in a scrappy quilt. And Guys, I think I'm right. I think I hit it out of the park on that. I don't know if you can get it. This exact piece is Color Club by Wyndham Fabrics, and Heather Valentine's the one that designed it. So this color is actually 53301. If you want to go searching for it, I know some of you do, and you might find some out there, who knows, but it's pattern number 53301 by Heather Valentine of the Sewing Loft. I got about 4 yards, and I didn't know if this was going to be enough or not, because what I'm doing is cutting from the width of the fabric a 2.5-inch strip. I've never sat down to figure out exactly, and you know, I didn't even know if I had enough background fabric. So today I sat down and I figured it all out. I'm going to show you how I figured it all out after I cut some more 2.5-inch strips, because I need a bunch more for today's video. And here I go, cutting my 2.5-inch strips for my back. By the way, oh dear, 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 look at this. Can you see that? This looks like it was in the sun because it's all along the piece. And this was on a fold. So either I laid it out in the sun, or at the store they laid it out in the sun. Interesting. Well, I don't want to use this strip, but let's see the other side of it. Yep, that's definitely discolored. And it's definitely on this side here, but putting it up to the light, you can definitely see it. So what I'm going to do is cut it off there, put this with my background strip, because I don't see any of the discoloration or bleaching there. And I am going to throw this in that pile on the floor, because that is it will end up in a scrappy strip somewhere, or it'll just end up in a scrap box. I'll figure something out. I measured this piece and I have 1974 inches of 2.5-inch strips in it. Isn't that crazy? Do you want to know how I did it? I have 3 yards and 10 inches of this fabric. I'm going to show you how to make a block B, and we're going to start with a 2.5-inch square. I'm going to measure it. Looks like this is cut to a perfect 2.5-inch square. Going to have to start with a piece on the top and a piece on the bottom. That looks like a good enough piece. Now this is the edge. This is the seam right here, and this is kind of cool. I may want that in later. So I'm going to flip this over and see what's on this end. Oh my goodness, a whole Valentine. That's kind of cute. Here's what I'm looking at, you guys. This is a seam. I don't necessarily want this seam to be like right on the edge. That would be, or you know, that would be kind of a pain. But I don't need to put this whole Valentine in. I mean, these little moons and stars are cute too. I could cut this right about in the middle. I can cut this right in the middle of this orange. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. Because my sides are cut already, and because these seams are wonky, I'm going to line this ruler line up on the edge of this, and that way I know I'll get straight cut. Turn this over, and I'm going to cut it when I sew it on. Our right sides together, stitch it down. I'm not paying any attention to light and dark. It naturally wants to press that way because this part is a little bit stiff with these seams here and here. So they don't necessarily like to press back like this. It's more natural for them to press like this. I'm going to use this, and I do on all my smaller, kind of pull it up a little bit and roll that down. So I'm going to press with this bottom scrappy strip, not folding back at all. And then I need a second piece. Ooh, and I don't want this. What have I done to myself? No problem. Watch what I'm going to do. I'm just going to take this piece off because I'm using it already. Not bad, right? And I want to press it down. I can put this purple piece all the way to the edge, And I don't even need to cut into this dark gray piece. Or I could do this. I could come over like this, and that would be what would be on my fabric. But why waste a good scrappy strip? This is just fine. Now here's the deal. This is like right on the line, right? So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to unpick this. So there is a little bit of unpicking. I don't mind doing it. I am just going to sew that on like that. But you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to flip it, and I'll tell you why. There's some white in the background. I think I'm just going to do it this way, making sure I know where it's going to go and get real exact, because I want to sew straight seams, and I'll sew it right down. And then I'm going to fold it the same way I folded the other side. It's small enough and good enough that I'm going to go ahead and trim it down right like that. There's my first piece, and I haven't been up to the iron yet, but I'll get there. I'll get there. I always do this part without getting up to go to the iron. Then the next thing you want to do, I bet you know what it is. I'm going to put this on. I've got purple here and purple here, so I'm just going to flip it around. I like that better. I'm going to have a little bit of pink down here. Let me cut that right off. It's easier to work with if it's trimmed to size. I'm going to do the same on this side. Now, I kind of like the look of that, but let's see. No, I don't like the heavy colors, so I'm going to do this. I don't want this pink on it to show in the corner because it's here. I'm going to take this off. Here's another way to take it off. I am just going under the fabric. So I'm going to put this kind of like that. It'll be green on the bottom. And I don't want to waste this piece. Here I go, putting it on. And I flipped it and turned it because these seam lines all are pressed in one direction, and I like to sew on the top, and I don't need to worry about flipping any of them over when if I go with sew with the seam. There's that side done. Oh, I don't know. Do I want to put this like this side? You know, I think I want to flip it. It doesn't matter that this blue and purple are together, but look at this. When I do this, yep, I'm just going to flip it. I'd say that's pressed, and I'm doing this just because it's fun. Oh, if you're looking at this, this is the binding that I have cut for the Scrappy Christmas Star quilt. We never did get it made. Ran out of backing and had to order more, so I just put it away till after Christmas. And you know what? It's after Christmas. That's on my list to do. Back to the sewing table. I've got my little pancake piece back here, and I'm going to use this ruler to square it up. You can't use the lines on this side because they're wonky. So I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this. I'm ready to put the next border on. I always start on this side first. I don't know why, I just do. It doesn't matter, I guess, which side you start on. So I have this strip. This is plenty long enough, and I'm going to sew this one on. I'm going to do my finger pressing, and this is easy. I'm just folding it back, and again, I'm not going to force all of these seams to be pressed. I'd have a very unhappy piece if I did. I'm going to look for a small piece to put on this side. And notice that I'm not measuring it. I guess you could if you wanted to, but I am being extremely careful not to do any hugging and stretching this way. I'm literally laying it on and applying pressure directly down on it with my fingers to hold it in place. I am not going to pull it taut and make this a wavy border. None of mine have been that way so far, so I'm pretty happy. So I'm gonna go ahead and press it down with my finger presser or my roller, and I'm gonna take it to the iron and press these perm before I trim them. This will be the last row that I get to use this ruler on. I have to go to the big ruler because this block gets big really. There we go. Lay it right on the side above that selvage piece. Look down here. I have, do I have 2.5 inches? Just barely. Yeah, I'll get 2.5 inches on the bottom there. By the way, I'm not sewing at 1/4 of an inch. I'm sewing at a scant 1/4 of an inch. I'm using the side of my presser foot. It's a scant 1/4 of an inch. Alrighty then. Going to line this piece up and slice off those 2 edges. If I don't have to cut a bunch of strips the exact size, I just figure it's less to do. I'm going to save this because it looks like it is 2.5 inches. Wow. Look at my block, Ma. All I have to do now is the outside scrappy strip side. This is really fun when you get to do this part. Too small, so we're going to set that aside. I'll get out another one and yet another. Oh, this is a fun one. I think I'm going to work with this one, and I'll tell you why. I absolutely love the sunglasses and the lips. I like how this one is looking on here, and I can cut it right in the middle at this, on this pink and white starfish. All I have to do is make this one 2.5 inches wide. So I am going to, yeah, this will be a fun one. Okay, there is this side. Now I have to do this side. Let's see what I have. Oh my gosh. Sushi, a mummy, a carousel, and bones. Okay, this is the winning side. Cool. This ruler has lost its useful life for the rest of this block. Bring in my big gun and give this edge a trim. Okay, this is not long enough. Now, if I really wanted to use it, I could sew another strip on it right here on either end, but I'm just going to do the easy thing and pull another scrappy strip. Look at this. I like the looks of this. Now, I've got more skeletons. I don't know if I want to do that, but the paper dolls are adorable. And the Valentines, why not? Who says I have to, sort everything out? I'm going to cut this right in the middle of this aqua block. I won't have to do any unpicking on that side. Set that there so I know what it is. And I'll turn this around and see what I have here. Oh, seahorses. Cute. Croissants. More sushi. Didn't I put sushi in this? I did. Sushi and sushi. Let me see what happens when I go upside down. I still have the croissants, and I have double croissants. And I guess that's okay, because there's really no rules. It's scrappy. I have cherries, flags. Okay, that's it. I'm going to double up on the croissants. I'm going to cut my 2.5 inches. There's that strip. I'm going to turn this one around. I have this orange piece, and orange up there and orange here. So I'm just going to flip this. Oh, I like this much better. 2.5 inches. Yeah, that's really the only measurement you need is 2.5 inches, right? Oh, look at that. That is going to be a cute, cute block. There we go. Oakley dokley. And this is lined up to sew perfectly because, again, all of the seams are pressed going this way, and that's the way my stitch will come down. Boom. And this one, I'm going to do the same too. I'm going to surprise you and not let you see it until I come back from the pressing table. Here's your surprise. Ta-da! Isn't this cute? All I have to do is trim these ends like so. I give you block B. There's one final thing that you have to do to finish this block. But remember, I goofed up and I have to trim it down 1/4 inch on all sides. And after I do that, I will go around and do a victory lap around each block. Look at all of these seams, and you don't want to have to start having them open up. This has been quite the day, and I sat down to show you how to make block number A, which is missing right here behind me, and I didn't quite have enough scrappy strips, so I needed to make some more. When you make the scrappy strips, it can be a bit messy. This is the mess that I have here from the scrappy strips. I hurried up and I made this piece. Look at it's rising from the ashes like a phoenix. I've got a good, yard. And then I'm going to take you through the construction of block number A. All right? Because I'm pretty sure I did B already. But the engineer and I went out with a few friends tonight. We always have this party after Christmas, and it's a lot of fun. And we do a white elephant exchange gift. And you will not believe what I got tonight. I'm going to share it with you. Are you ready for this? Can you see what this is? It's a bottle of hot sauce, but it's in a chicken bottle. Anyway, I guess I'm just a hot chick. I don't know. I love it so much. It got stolen and I thought, oh no, I've lost the hot chick sauce. And I was able to strategically get it back. And I'm going to keep my hot chick right here with me while I finish block number A. Before I get started, here is the hot chick in this chicken bottle. I don't know how old the hot sauce is, so I'm just going to set that over here for now. So I am going to cut off 2.5 inches to start this block. When I'm cutting, I take the time to make sure everything is square. If it's all square, it's going to be square in my block. This is the start of this block. And then you got to come in with some strips on the top and on the bottom. And I could do that. That's kind of boring. I said 1. No, that's not right. You need 2 background 2.5 inch squares. What a dyslexic mistake I made. It's so easy to change the block you're making from an A block to a B block by only cutting 1 2.5 inch background block at a time. I suggest, and this is the big tip, that you cut 2 background 2.5 inch squares and 1 scrappy strip 2.5 inch square before you start sewing. Then continue finishing the A block like this. Have a center scrappy square, a background border, then a scrappy border, and finish with a background border. Remember the width of all the strip or borders is 2.5 inches. A victory lap on the A block is optional. What I recommend instead is back tacking your last 2 seams of this block, the start and the finish. And the big lesson here is to pay attention and lay out the first 3 2.5 inch blocks of each A or B block that you're making. What do you think? I am loving it. You may notice that it's not as big as I said I was going to make it in the first place. I have only got 4 across and 4 down. I figured out that I had enough background fabric to make that. And this again is my background fabric. I have it cut in these strips, not all of it. Can you see the texture on there? I think that texture is just gorgeous. And I do want to tell you this background fabric is my all-time favorite color. It's the best of the best, kind of that, I don't know, tropical, oceany aqua. Aquamarine, I don't know. There's so many different colors of aqua and turquoise, and I love them all, but this one is probably one of my very favorite. To see it with all of my scraps on it, it just kind of does something. Makes my heart beat just a little bit more, but not too fast, you know. We got to protect the heart. Anyway, I hope you like it as much as I liked it. Now, I told you I wanted to make it even a little bigger, but I wasn't sure if I was going to have enough of the background fabric. So I did some math, and guess what? Oh, it turns out I do. I have plenty of background fabric. There were 988 inches of 2.5 strips left over from that background fabric. And I only needed 612 inches to add enough blocks to make it 6 blocks across and 7 blocks down. Wow. 6 blocks across and 7 blocks down means this quilt is going to end up 81 inches wide and 94.5 inches long. Right now, currently with my 5 by 6 blocks, it's going to end up 67.5 by 81 inches long. I can't decide whether I'm going to go 81 inches long or 94 inches long. And I'll tell you why. Because I'm tall and I like a quilt that I can curl under my toes and bring up to my shoulders and wrap it around my neck. I just like to be all snuggled up tight. So I really haven't decided what I'm going to do yet. And I'm still mulling it back and forth. Another reason is I'm building a trunk of quilts for a trunk show. And you know what? I don't know if I want great big huge quilts because they're a little bit more bulky to show, or if I want to go with the smaller ones. I'm kind of going, I don't know. I'm going to sit back and think about it for a while and figure out best what I want to do, what's going to serve my needs for this quilt. In the meantime, it's going to remain in block form. I will trim the blocks down 1/2 inch, which I can't believe I did that. What was I thinking? I don't know. Remember, when you make it, don't do something dumb like I did and think you need to trim it down 1/2 inch all the way around. That really takes quite a bit out of the quilt. I'm going to do that. Sadly, I'm going to do that. I'll I'll wear a black armband when I do it because it's really going to make me sad. But anyway, I just wanted to let you know. I do love how it's looking though, and I hope you do too. I want to thank 3 really neat viewers who have bought me cups of herb tea on the Buy Me a Cup of Coffee site. Thank you, Amanda, and thank you, Bakita RN, for buying me cups of herb tea. You are awesome. And thank you, Pauline Maycock, for becoming a monthly supporter. That is so very cool of you. I really, really appreciate it. I just can't express my appreciation for all of you subscribers and people who watch my channel. You know, as I always say, the quilting community is full of amazing quilters, and I am so thankful I get to retreat with you. I get to travel to England with you. I get to make videos and you comment on them, and I just appreciate it all together. Don't forget, my trip to England is coming up. Know that it can be our trip to England. You can come, and the sign up is on my website at sisterchicksquilting.com. We're going to spend 2 days at the Festival of the Quilts in Birmingham, England. I'm over the moon about that. Join me. We're going to party hardy at the Festival of the Quilts. Until next week, have some great quilting adventures, and I'll see you next week. Bye.